Magical secrets. Oh boy, this is the funnest feature in the whole game besides spellcasting in general. This is going to be a fun video. Welcome to Pack Tactics. First time I got magical secrets when I started D&D, I spent 4 hours looking at spells, and I remember exactly what I picked. It was Spirit Guardians and Counterspell. Kobold! What is magical secrets? Magical secrets. 10th level, choose 2 spells from any classes, including this one. A spell you choose must be of a level you can cast, as shown on the bard table or a cantrip. The chosen spells count as bard spells for you, and are included in the number of the spells known column of the bard's table. You learn 2 additional spells from any classes at 14th level, and again at 18th level. If you play a lore bard, you get an early magical secrets at level 6. I made a video about that recently, link in the description. I'll be splicing some of that video into here, by the way. This makes it easier for both of us because I'm gonna be saying the same things. I still recommend listening to what I say at level 6 because that whole list is relevant at 10th level as well. Anyways, let us begin. Haha! I lied! I critted with deception with only crits. Look! Dice, dice, dice! When you buy a set of dice, you get a free adventure with the dice. I recommend getting the Dragon Eye Multiple Dice bag because you get 6 set of dice just like that. It's almost enough for conjure animals. If you buy a ton of dice, you can use them as traps. The D4s can be used as caltrops, and these are more painful than Legos. They can stop a burglar from breaking into your home. Absolutely, Gator, and if they die from the D4 damage, you can loot them and buy even more dice. Optimal! I highly recommend you check them out, and if you do, please press the link in the description. That's onlycrits.com/GatorTactics, and if you like what you see, use the code GATOR for 15% discount. Now we're actually gonna start the video. Bye-bye! You choose 2 spells from any class's spell list. This is one of the only features in the game with hundreds of options and combinations in a single feature. Do note that the feature states you can take the spells from any class's spell list. That means you can't pick Dunamancy spells like Gift of Alacrity or Dark Star, sadly, because those are only available for 2 subclasses. With hundreds of options to pick from, there's a lot of traps, so I'm going to talk about the very best options. If you want a ranked list that's very similar to this video, Tabletop Builds has you covered, link in the description. Do keep in mind that this is your character. If you want to grab something I don't mention in this video, then go ahead. These are just recommendations. Before we begin, I also have to mention multiclassing. Luckily for you, you are one of the charisma classes, and classes like that get a lot of dip potential like Divine Soul Sorcerer. That gives you access to Sorcerer and Cleric spell lists, so you can snag the best first level spells from those lists, like the ones that provide defenses, and of course, Bless. Another great one is Hexblade Warlock. That gives you medium armor and shield proficiency, and you get the shield spell. This is perfect because bards have a defense problem, and this solves it in a single dip. You also get Eldritch Blast, agonizing and repelling. True, well, you get agonizing and repelling if you take the 2nd level in Hexblade. Point is, there's a lot of goodies in that package. I highly recommend it. Now let's start with level 6 magical secrets from Lore Bard. First up, Absorb Elements. If you can't pick this up through multiclassing, then you might want to consider it here. I recommend thinking about it at level 10 rather than 6, because elemental damage becomes more common at those levels. Now, if you know for a fact you're going to be fighting a lot of dragons, for example in the dragon campaign, then do pick this up. I think that's kind of obvious, but you know, I'm just making sure. Next, Binding Ice. Fantastic 30-foot cone blast / shutdown spell. This combos super duper well with Web, which I also recommend, by the way. More on that later. The con save isn't that bad because of how powerful half on the save works. If you want to know more about the math around half on the save, link in the description. If you want a video on the spell itself, that's also there. Next, Conjure Animals. This is the strongest option at this level. Summon a creature, swarm enemies, tons of damage, hard to get rid of, tons of utility like even flight, tons of control. The only real negative about this spell is people really hate this spell, and usually it has to do with the speed. So I made a video on how to optimize Conjure Animals to make it really fast. If you manage to do this properly, then encounters will end quicker than normal because you do so much damage and control. Link in the description. If you can't pick Conjure Animals, Animate Dead is another option I recommend. You can get a Skeleton Archer, which is pretty good. It's not as good as the animals though. Counterspell, you should consider this at level 10. That's where casters get scary. By the way, Jack of all trades improves your counterspell, so that makes it more appealing than normal. If you want a guide on counterspell, link in the description. Next! Fireball goes kaboom! Bards lack good blasting spells, and this is a fantastic blast spell. Very simple. Next, Fly. Not only is it great utility, it's got 60-foot speed, lasts 10 minutes, and upcast targets more of your friends. That's really good. It can also potentially counter more than half of all the creatures in all of the books combined because they don't have range. You fly up and shoot down. This can potentially default kill them too. Very simple. Next, Pass Without Trace. One of the best spells in the entire game. It's used for group surprise, which is basically like Action Surge but for your whole party. This spell demolishes dungeons. If there's another party member with this spell, don't pick it. Phantom Steed, it's a ritual cast for a mount that lasts for an hour. It can move 100 feet, 200 feet if dash. It can disengage for you without using any of your actions. You can ritual cast many of them for your party while riding the horse. It's a fantastic spell. Link in the description for more details. Shield. Like Absorb Elements, if you can't dip for it, then consider picking this up. But unlike Absorb Elements, you should think about getting this as soon as possible. You have a serious defense problem as a bard, and this spell goes a long way to help you. Sleet Storm. 40-foot radius cylinder that cripples flying, melee, and spellcasting monsters. This AoE is massive. Look how big it is. Fantastic control. I really should make a video about it. It's really underrated. Spike Growth, 20-foot radius AoE that causes difficult terrain and does 2d4 piercing damage for every 5-foot creature's travel. This is neck and neck with Web. If your party likes pushing people around like a warlock with repelling, then I highly recommend using this spell. Link in the description for more details. Spirit Guardians, all you have to do is dodge, and maybe cast some cantrips once in a while. This is the easiest and most chill option next to Fireball, and this spell lasts for a very long time, 10 minutes. Before picking this up, I recommend securing your defenses first, because this is a close to melee range AoE spell. So that means you're going to be attacked a lot. If you want an ultimate guide, link in the description. Last one, Web, creates a 20-foot cube of difficult terrain that forces creatures to make a dexterity saving throw, or become restrained until they use an action and succeed on a strength check. Very few creatures in the game are immune to restraint condition, and there's difficult terrain on top of that. Like I said before, it's neck and neck with Spike Growth, but unlike Spike Growth, you can anchor it onto things like walls. Vampire spawns, for example, can't just walk on the wall to ignore your web, like they can with Spike Growth. You can even get flying enemies out of the sky with this. But usually this is used for hallways, and together with Binding Ice, it's a perfect combo. Web alone shuts down a lot of people dead in their tracks. Then from there you range them out. There we go. Now let's move on to the 10th level magical secrets. Like I said before, everything I mentioned at 6th level is relevant here, except for Binding Ice and Phantom Steed. Absorb Elements and Counterspell, I mentioned them at 6th level. This is really where you should consider them. This is just a reminder, by the way. Next, find Greater Steed. Pegasus is the best option. This is a flying mount. Obviously, it's better than Phantom Steed. By the way, if your party finds a ring of spell storing, then the whole party can get fine greater steeds. This is usually the level where you find such an item, so keep an eye out. Next, Wall of Force. This is hands down the strongest choice you can make at this level. No save shutdown with tons of utility, can split encounters, can suck people into AoEs. You can also microwave with this. I made a full video about it, link in the description.
That's it for 10th level.
Yeah, because everything was mentioned at level 6. If you missed level 6, go back to level 6. Now for level 14. This is going to be a longer list, I promise. Reminder again about Counterspell. If no one has Counterspell at this level, I do think this is a mandatory pick. Casters are super scary at this level. If you do have party members with this spell, then it's not mandatory, but it's something you should absolutely consider highly. Anyways, Conjure Celestial summons a Celestial up to CR4. CR5 with a 9th level slot. Lasts for an hour. Concentration action cast. You can summon a Quaddle, which is incredibly useful. It has plenty of innate spellcasting, it has really good stats, it flies, and it has really good immunities. And best of all, Change Shape lets you turn it into a Lycanthrope and infect the whole party, which is actually super optimal. Because not only do you become a furry, but you also get immunities and stuff. I made a video about it, link in the description. You can also pick the Holophant with a 9th level spell slot. That's really important for endgame. I made a whole video about Holophants, link in the description. Next, Death Ward. It's for protection. I was thinking of putting this at 10th level, but I couldn't fully justify it besides using tech, and most people don't like that. So instead, it's here for Simulacrum. It's here to keep it alive for longer. You might also want to cast this on your party. This is literally a lifesaver. Magic Jar lets you possess the body of another humanoid on a failed charisma saving throw. This is one of the most powerful spells in the game, and it brings a lot of roleplay to the table. But be warned though, finding a good body might be a little difficult, but still, this is absolutely worth thinking about. If you want to know more about this spell, link in the description. Next, Scatter. Positioning by itself can just win encounters, and this spell allows you to adapt to a sudden change in battle. I've seen this spell cast many times, and it's been useful every single time. Next, Simulacrum. This is obviously an auto pick. There can be 2 of you, or you can use this on another spellcaster that's more powerful than you. This spell literally doubles your power. Now we're at level 18. We're at endgame. I'm gonna assume you have Counterspell. Anyways, Animal Shapes. Any number of creatures within 30 feet turns into large or smaller beasts up to CR4. Lasts 24 hours, requires concentration. Boom! Party pets, summons, and whatever becomes stronger. CR4 beasts are great. Giant Scorpions is a really powerful option here. I highly recommend it. Mass Heal restores up to 700 HP to creatures you can see within 60 feet. Divided as you choose. And then there's some more stuff. This is basically the emergency refresh button. If you think you're losing an encounter, boom, full HP for everyone within 60 feet. Meteor Swarm, it's massive. It's the strongest blast spell in the entire game. And I imagine at an actual table, this is a lot of fun to roll. You have a cup full of dice and you just roll it. If you need dice for Meteor Swarm, you can go to Only Crits and use the code GATOR for 15% discount. Last, and this is the best spell in the entire game, Wish. Wish has a massive array of uses. Always take this if you can. There's no excuse to consider another spell first. Remember that the use case here is replicating the effects of any spell of 8th level or lower. Using it for any other effect means a chance of never being able to cast Wish again. So don't fall for that trap. And that's it. Those are all my recommendations. You can tell me in the comments if I missed something.
Kobold, you forgot about Swift Quiver.
Gator, that's really funny. That spell sucks, and you know that. Anyways, end of video.
If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe donate to Patreon if you want to support us directly. If you don't, I'll Misty Step into your house. Anyways, bye-bye.